Well, hey guys, hi, Brent, Abel here, WebTennis.com. And you know, unlike most of the guys and gals out there in the pro tour who actually make money playing professional tennis, you know, the rest of us, amateurs, age group players, most of us don't have that one huge weapon that we can really use to sort of dictate play. You know, whether that's a big serve, maybe it's a big forehand, but most of us don't have that one big weapon in our toolbox where we can just totally control the match. And yet, the top players, the top age group players, the top amateurs, what they do have is they've got something called disguise. They've got false advertising, and especially over on their backhand side, when they can play a backhand slice properly, when they've got the setup, they've got the look, and out of that one look, not only can they drive the ball, can they drive a slice backhand that doesn't float, doesn't sit up where your opponent gets an opportunity to really take charge of the point, but instead that slice, that underspin backhand slice drive, it skids, it stays low, and produces, you know, a lot of errors out of your opponents, but also gets you a lot of short balls, you know, where you can take advantage of the point. But the best part is out of that slice backhand look, out of the setup, you are now ready to go ahead and not only execute that slice backhand drive, but you can also disguise to play a slice backhand drop shot. If you want to play an approach shot, if you want to play an approach drop shot, if you want to play a lob, even when you get up to net and you play a standard volley, it all comes out of this same look that you get when you have the proper, what I'm calling the three technical tweaks of a slice backhand drive. So if you think about it, players that technically, foundationally have this slice backhand drive in their toolbox, they've got the advantage. And as I just mentioned, not only have they got a much superior backhand slice drive and what it does through the bounce over there, but not only that, but they are disguising all of these other shots. But the other thing that they create in their opponents is this doubt, kind of this unsettled mind where the opponents don't know what's coming. And lots of times what happens before they get into that situation where now you're sort of a master of disguise is they're trying to avoid that, and they go for something too big, make an unforced error, and now just because you've got the fundamentals of this backhand slice drive, that you've got it down, you know what? You're creating lots of unforced errors from your opponents. So what I've got for you over the next few days is a free video series. And what these videos are going to help you do is, number one, is eliminate this floating backhand slice where it just floats over there and it just sits up. And even if it's relatively deep, it sits up. It's kind of got that spin that you would want on a drop shot. And you know, the problem with that is that you really give your opponent an opportunity to take charge of the point. But the other thing it does is it really does something to your confidence, not only in that part of your game, but for the rest of your game too. Even if you feel good on other parts of your game, if your backhand slice is not technically sound, your confidence is down in that area, it shows to your opponents, and then the rest of your game really takes a hit in terms of confidence. So when I got organized with my backhand slice, you know, the drive part, and I used to do the same thing. I used to float it and would sit up, and opponents would just, you know, abuse me with the next shot. And when I finally got organized with legendary Northern California coach Tom Stowe, I mean, he really helped me sort of go minimalist on the technique. Number one, so that I could be super consistent with executing that shot, the backhand slice drive. But I didn't realize it until we started working on it, is that Tom showed me from that setup, from that look that you have in the backhand slice, is that you've got all these other shots available to you. And for me, that really helped kind of simplify the game. And, you know, rather than having, you know, another 6 shots that I had to work on, so the 6 individual shots, well, now with this backhand slice setup, I mean, I was ready for a drop shot. I was ready for an approach shot. I was ready for an approach shot look that became a drop shot. You know, I was ready for an underspin lob. And then my backhand volley just improved instantly because Mr. Stowe showed me what the setup was to be able to have all of these shots come out of that same look, come out of that same setup, which obviously, as I said before, it simplified the shots for me. But I'm telling you, the disguise, the false advertising you get where your opponents don't know what shot you're about to play, I mean, that really changed my game. And once I got organized with that, you know, I started winning national age group titles, national USA age group titles, and I've, you know, won a singles title and 5 doubles titles so far. And one of the big reasons has been this part of my game is the backhand slice, the fundamentals of it, and all of these other shots that you can play that are really based on those backhand slice fundamentals. And what I've really discovered over my 40+ years of teaching and coaching tennis is that the best way for me to help my students is to make the fundamentals, to make the foundations of the strokes as simple as possible. And a lot of that is, you know, a lot of players out there already have these fundamentals in there, whether it's 3 fundamentals or 4 or 5, whatever that number is. Most players have already got them, but they've got so many added layers of stuff that get in the way of those fundamentals coming out consistently, that I feel like my job a lot of the time is just to help someone pare away all the stuff, all the layers they don't need, so they really get themselves back to those, in this case in the slice backhand, to 3 simple fundamentals. So number 1, shot making, you are super consistent with it, but again, and I'm going to be harping on this throughout this 3 video training with you, is that the disguise that you get, the false advertising that you get to show out of the slice backhand setup, I mean, you're set up to be able to play another half dozen shots. And I'm telling you, when that happened for me, I mean, my game really took off. And not only did I start winning these national titles, but I got to tell you, I started having so much more fun out there in the tennis court, whether in my singles or my doubles matches. So as I mentioned earlier, I've got 3 video tips for you over the next few days. Today is going to be video number 1. Look in your email tomorrow for an email from me that'll take you to video number 2. And I want you to know that this is going to be a real opportunity, a real chance for you to not only clean up a certain part of your game so that you're no longer floating those slice backhands or no longer sitting up over there where your opponents get to just, you know, knock off another winner or really take charge of the point. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for you to be able to really change that part of your game and just have so much more fun out there in the court. Today's first tip, what I want to help you with, what I want to help you clean up, is the swing path to the ball. Once you get turned, once you get set up, what I see way too often, and this is something that I used to do, my instincts told me that if I want to get underspin, I've got to have a high to low swing path. And you know, the problem with that is that if you get too severe of a high to low plane, a too severe high to low swing path, you know what happens is you don't drive the ball forward with just enough underspin. You actually get too much. And what happens is the ball, that's why the ball floats, that's why the ball sits up over there. And in fact, what you want is you want much more of a level swing. There's a slight high to low, but the way that you impart the underspin, the backspin on this backhand slice drive, is from a continental grip where you trust that by opening up the grip, or opening up the racket face, I should say, with a continental grip, which does that naturally for you, that this is really what imparts the spin as opposed to such a severe high to low swing path. I'm going to take you out in the tennis court right now and show you exactly what I mean. Okay, let's talk about the swing path on the backhand slice drive. And typically what I see, the reason that we float balls over there and the reason it sits up kind of like a drop shot, it just sits up even if it's deep and really gives our opponents an opportunity to either unload on a big winner or else at least take charge. And the big problem I see, even if you get turned properly, is that your perception of the swing path to get underspin is just way too severe. I mean, it is high to low, and it's not sort of a forward high to low. It is really a kind of a hacking down. And when you do that, you produce way too much underspin. And yeah, you get the ball turning backwards just like a classic underspin, but it floats and it sits and it gets you in trouble. What you want to do instead, rather than thinking that the way you produce underspin is from the swing path, is you want to think more about the grip. What I use is the continental grip, and the reason I use the continental is that when I turn back here for a slice with a continental, it's already, the racket face is naturally open because of the grip. If I was to set up, let's say, in an Eastern backhand grip, this would actually close the racket face and it would be more suitable for a drive rather than a continental, which would open the racket face. So what I want you to think about here are two things. Number one, I want you to find the continental, and the continental, as we know, is with getting the V formed by your index finger and your thumb right along the left bevel in here. If you go over with the V here on the right side, that's going to be an Eastern forehand grip, and if you get that knuckle on top, that's going to be an Eastern backhand. So we're looking for that left side bevel where you've got the V formed by the thumb and the index finger, and when you find that, and when you turn, I want you to trust this naturally opens up the racket face to impart the spin to where you don't have to go severely high to low. Yes, there's a little high to low, and you're going to see it in the sample shots that I'm about to play, where it's a slight high to low, but the real combination of the slight high to low swing path combined with the continental grip, if you trust it, then you get just the right proper amount of underspin. It won't float, it won't sit up, it's going to actually skid through that bounce on the other side. And obviously the benefit of that is you do get some errors out of your opponents, you get some short balls where you can now take charge of the point. But the other thing that you're going to learn in this training is how this setup position, continental grip, where you don't need a severe hack in here, which gives it away as to what's coming, you're now set up to not only play the slice backhand drive, you're set up to play the slice backhand drop shot, to play an approach that skids and stays low, to make it look like you're going to approach, and then you play the drop shot, and then to play a lob from back here, slice, total control. When you get pulled out wide with this, rather than hacking down, is you now can slide it out forward, neutralize the point, and really get back in the point without giving your opponent an opportunity. So I want you to get out there, and I want you to tinker for a few minutes. Maybe you could stand up right now, wherever you're watching this, and grab a racket and just turn and feel the continental and how you could have a slight high to low swing path on that, and that's what's going to create the type of underspin that you want. So I hope that made sense to you, that continental grip and how it naturally opens up the racket face for you, and how that can impart spin with a much more level swing as opposed to a high to low hack on the back of the ball, which makes the ball float and sit up. I really hope that you got something out of that today. So in tomorrow's tip, video number 2, and be sure to look in your email tomorrow, because there's going to be an email there from me with a link that's going to take you to video number 2. And what we're going to work on tomorrow is what I use as my target, where I want the ball to land over there with my slice backhand drive. And it may be a little bit different thinking than what you've thought of before in terms of, where do you want to aim this backhand slice drive. This was a big game changer for me. I mean, before I used to be thinking of a target that you may be right now, and once I changed that to what I want to show you tomorrow, I'm telling you, I became way more consistent. I got much more swing freedom, which meant that I had a better spin, a much more biting, low, skidding, penetrating bounce over there. And, it's something that you may not have heard of. So be sure to look for that email from me tomorrow. In the meantime, what I want to hear from you is right down below in the comment section, what's been your number one challenge? What's been your number one question? Your number one problem with your specific slice backhand drive? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, come on now, got to get out there today and make it another incredible day.